Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas with an explication request. If you have an explication request, feel free to send that at explicationrequest@guruexamprep.com. This is the request for this morning. A customer sells short 100 shares of BFD at 75. BFD rises to 90. What is the equity in the customer's account? I like this one. A lot of test prep vendors go overkill on margin. There's only 3 or 4 questions, and this is they're pretty straightforward like this one. We'd like to make you do an initial setup, which I'm going to show you, and then a mark to market, and then ask you based on that mark what is true. Here it's what's the equity. Could be, all the following ledger entries are affected except. All right, so in terms of our initial setup, we're going to get $7,500 from selling the borrowed stock. And let's put that a smaller font. Boom. And then remember, Reg T says that you have to put half of that up. You initially got to be at risk for half. So half of 7,500 is 3,750. Now, I'm not very good at arithmetic, so I'm not being facetious. I'm going to take my calculator just to make sure that is the margin call. So 7,500 times 50%. Yeah, 3,750. And this is where most people get hung up. Where does the credit register come from? And, a lot of people say, oh, it's 150%. Well, yeah, but, where does it come from? The credit register, the cash, this is not free credit balance. This is a credit balance cash that arose from a short sale, right? So now we have the first part of the classical margin equation short, which is credit register. We need to know how much cash is in the customer account. And the cash in the customer account here is, and again, I'm using my calculator, 11,250. I don't necessarily have to put the dollar sign there, but boom. Yeah, let's make it a little smaller than that. And that is our credit register. Now, the second ledger line is always what I owe. In a long account, the classical margin equation is long market value minus debit balance. Debit register equals equity because the debit balance is you owe money. Here, you don't owe money. What you owe are securities. And the securities you owe are presently valued at $7,500. And that is called the short market value. And that's what we owe. In most businesses, when you sell things you don't own, it's called fraud. But not in the securities industry. It's called selling short. So at some point, I'm going to have to give back the borrowed stock to the person I borrowed it from. And equity always represents what you would have if you close the account. Nobody is suggesting you do that. Nobody is suggesting you do that. However, let's see, minus 7,500. So we are perfectly balanced. We are perfectly balanced. I would definitely know, and you should know, the classical margin equation long and the classical margin equation short. Right? So now I have my initial setup. And we said to do our initial setups in our mark to market, we need to know the classical margin equation. Boom. Credit register minus short market value equals equity. Okay, so now we're going to do our mark to market based on this scenario. So now the stock goes to 90. And so now we're going to do our mark to market. Let me get this going. Boom. So we still have 11,250 in our credit register, our credit balance, cash. Where that's the cash that arose from $7,500 from selling the stock we don't own, plus the half that we had to put with it. And not bueno, the stock is now at 90, so we owe $9,000 worth of securities. We used to owe $7,500 worth of securities, but now we owe $9,000 worth of securities. Selling short, very testable, has unlimited risk. Daniel Drew, legendary Wall Street speculator, said those that sell what isn't his'n must eventually buy it back or go to prison. And so, there's a finite supply, potential infinite demand here of the stock. And so very testable, this exposes us to unlimited risk. And right now, not bueno, it has moved against us. If we went in the open market, bought back the borrowed stock, we would only have 2,000. I just used my calculator again. Again, I told you I'm using my calculator. Somebody offers me a calculator, I say thank you very much. By the way, this is the calculator you can get. It's a simple function calculator. Okay, so looks like so far we're in some little bit of trouble here, but we did answer the question. Remember, the question was, what is the customer's equity? And then I would add to that, my mantra. There's our answer to the question. RTFQ. Read the full question. Make sure you're answering the question that was asked. In this case, what is the equity? You've answered that question, and not some question you think is there. What I mean by some question that could be there, and it could have been this question, it wasn't, but we could have asked you, like, what is minimum maintenance in this account? And minimum maintenance is 30% of the market value. And so we do have a problem right now because minimum maintenance is 2,700 and you have 2,250. Remember, the house requirement could be more stringent. Just can't be more difficult. And then of that $2,700, you have 2,250 already in the account. And so right now you have a $450 maintenance call due promptly. The answer to the question is 2,250, but it could have asked us other things, right? RTFQ. We should have known there's a problem because we should have been able to take the credit register, which in this case, 11,250, divide by 1.3, and we would know that 9,000 is going to be a problem because that is market value at maintenance. So 11,250. 11,250. And this is a practical application question. You get recognition questions on your Series 7, you get practical application, and you get judgment questions. This is a practical application. And we definitely want to be able to do practical application because there's no interpretation of what the right answer is here. And so market value maintenance is 8,653.85. So we know that this is already a problem because 9,000 is over that. And then we should definitely know there are a couple of risk mitigation strategies. The best mitigation strategy would be a full hedge, where we actually buy a call. Now, if we buy a call, like maybe we buy an 85 call, and then we would no longer have unlimited risk. So in terms of risk mitigation, the way I always say this is don't be a dumb bear. Maybe you're not approved for options. Maybe you don't want to pay a premium. The other risk mitigation strategy would put a buy stop. There's two ways to do risk mitigation as it applies to this scenario. Okay, so remember, inch by inch, your Series 7 is a sense, yard by yard, your Series 7 is hard. I'll see you for the next explication request. I will, in the video description, a pinned comment, link to a margin lecture called Don't Overdose. It has everything you need to know about margin to pass your exam. And if you have an explication request, feel free to send that to explicationrequest@guruexamprep.com.